diving right into this video. So this is the frontal, this is what it looks like, and the knots are not bleached, so that's what I'm about to do. So I'm taking some BW2 powder, and I'm going to put it in my lovely little mixing bowl. So I'm going to pour the whole pack in because I need the whole pack. And then after that, this time I am using 30 volume cream developer. I used it last time too, I don't know what I'm saying this time. But I used 4 capfuls, but it's also a bigger bottle. So I'll make sure to leave that in the description box. Now we just mixing it up. And then like in my head I was singing like cooking up whatever that song. I don't really know. Bad and Bougie song? You know, that. Anyways, you just want it to look like a good kind of like whipped cream. Or whipped cream like for cake. That's what it needs to look like. Anyway, so I put down the foil first, and then I'm just going to place the frontal on top. And here I'm just buttering up the frontal. So I'm lightly placing it on the frontal. You know, I'm not pressing too hard. It's kind of like your bagel. Like if you eat bagels or toast, you know, you don't want to put it on there too hard because it'll like, you know, it'll, what's that called? It'll break it. So we don't want to break it, pretty much. I'm childish. Anyway, so after that, once I'm done and I got it all over, I'm going to flip it over. And I just want to say make sure you do get the front part of the frontal. And then here I am checking the frontal to see if I got in it anywhere on the hair. And then I'm just folding the foil over and just waiting 30 minutes. So I waited 30 minutes and then I rinsed it off. So here I'm just rinsing the bleach off. And I'm kind of doing it so it doesn't get on the hair, but obviously I'm going to wash it anyways, so I'm trying to wash the bleach off. And then I'm going to be using this shampoo, but I still haven't made my way to the store to get Dove shampoo, so just use what shampoo you prefer. And then as far as conditioner, I'm using the Aussie conditioner. I really like this conditioner. Yeah, it's just my favorite. So here I'm just putting the frontal on just to see where the indents of my hair are. And I'm going to mark them with a white pencil. And I just want it so it can look just as natural as possible on my head because this is my first time doing a frontal and using one, period. I'm a closure kind of girl. So here I'm just placing the frontal on with bobby pins because I'm going to customize the frontal. So this is what I did first, is pin it, and that's what it looked like. And then I kind of just had to figure out what I was gonna do. So first I was just like parting the hair and kind of just like randomly plucking. And then I kind of didn't really like this method, but it was effective, I'll say that for sure. So it wasn't like it wasn't working. I was kind of just going like over, like I'd take some and then skip, take some and then skip. And just so I didn't have to like keep parting, because I mean it is like a natural thing, so it couldn't be too sectioned off and trying to make it look perfect, I guess. I mean, that's not the whole point. So then I finally realized like a way that I did want to do the frontal. So that was pulling the hair in between my fingers and then plucking in the parts where my fingers were going. So where the spaces are is where I would pluck. And I would just like randomly pluck in between them. But because I know every time I ran my fingers through the hair, the parting would be different, I felt like that would be more of a natural look. So I did it forward and backwards, and then I only parted the hair an inch back when I was doing this. So anything after that inch, I should say about an inch, I didn't pluck or anything because I still needed to look somewhat full, obviously. But yeah, this method works so much better for me, and it's faster because you're not necessarily having to be like parting every second and going in between and weaving and all that. So I just find this effective, especially for people who it was their first time. So this is my first time, so I'm just trying to, help y'all. Then also, it makes it easier too because you can just go like in between the parts and you don't have to keep parting. Like I know I'm repeating that, but it like that's pretty much all it was. So I literally just kept fingering my hair and then just going in between, and it kind of gives you a grip and kind of idea what the hair looks like. And then once I was done, this is how it ended up looking. As you can see, and I just kind of took the front a little bit, just hairs that I felt like needed to be taken out. So yeah. And then as far as the spot where I put the white mark, so this is kind of like, I would say like a bald spot, but it's really not. It's just like where my hairline kind of goes in and dents. And I kind of did the same thing with my fingers, like parting it that way, but then I was just randomly taking pieces. But just like I said, the fingers work great to keep parts and just go in between the hairs and just put in them or on the part. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but definitely helped. I don't care how you look so nice.
cry, you're not nice, you're rude. Want me to feel like I'm new. Want me to watch you do you. Don't get your looks so nice.
So this is what it looks like in the end, and I'm also showing you guys like my bald spot ish where I don't have a lot of hair right there because that's literally how my hairline looks. So I kind of just wanted to look like that. And then here is just how I did the front. So I kind of just parted the front an inch back and just went in between like my fingers like I was doing on the sides as well.
I want you, you can't leave. The way you move is so mean. They can't fit in your league. Oh, make a new team. I want you, you can't leave. The way you move is so mean. They can't fit in your league. Oh, make a new team.
Okay, so now we're going to get into how I customize the frontal with baby hairs. So I'm using this olive oil mousse, and I'm pretty much just placing this all over the front of the frontal, so like where the hairline is. And I'm just using this to kind of help me, like guide me how I wanted it to look. And I kind of wanted it to look wet because if it was dry, it wasn't going to work out too well for me. Because I did try to do it on dry. But I did try to do it when it was dry, and it wasn't working. So you're just going to place that all over. And then afterwards, what I did is I'm going to take my rat tail comb and I'm kind of just going to take parts, like just like where I know my baby hairs are and kind of like an idea. And I'm just kind of like swooping it. So I'm finally making the part. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this razor, and it's an eyebrow razor that you can get from like Sally's or your local beauty supply. And I'm just taking the mousse and I'm taking the comb and I'm just swooping it. So it's kind of simple, but I did have to add more mousse every time like I did cut the hair. And that's just so like the hair stayed in position, but it didn't bother me. But yeah, so it's kind of self-explanatory.
I'm good, I'm good, I'm great. Know it's been a while, now I'm mixing up the drink. I just need a girl who gon' really understand. I just need a girl who gon' really understand. I'm good, I'm good, I'm great. Know it's been a while, now I'm mixing up the drink. I just need a girl who gon' really understand. I just need a girl who gon' really.
So this is the final look of how it looked, and it came out great. Like I was so excited because it's my first time, so I was really happy. And then now I'm just getting into how I made the wig. So I'm using a dome cap, and I will say I didn't like that I used a dome cap because it still didn't fit. But I'm just gonna show you guys how I used it and stuff. I just have a really small head. But anyway, so I pinned the dome cap down, and then what I'm doing now is I'm pinning the back of the frontal down with pins, and this is just so it stays in place while I sew the frontal down. And then I just put a hair tie in the front just so the hair stays out the way. Okay, so now I'm beginning my sewing, and I just make a knot in the front and I'm going under and then I'm wrapping the thread around to kind of create like a cross kind of stitch. I feel like I don't really know the name of like types of stitching methods, if that makes sense. What I do is just like I put the needle through and then I wrap the thread around once and then it makes like a line, if that makes sense. But it definitely keeps the hair sturdy. Like I know that for sure. So hopefully you guys can kind of tell what I'm doing. Okay, so this is what the hair looks like fresh out the little packaging. And it was really soft, it was really bouncy, it was flowy. Like, yes, honey, work. So this is a 22-inch. So I'm going to start there, and what I'm doing is I don't sew through the wefts, but I do sew like the attaching part through the wefts. And then as far as like when I'm sewing, I always pin the other side just so it doesn't fall everywhere and I don't have to hold it or anything. And then I do have a video on how I made a wig, so I kind of didn't go into detail as far as like the whole thing. But I will say, like, when using the dome cap, there is a band underneath and there's a fabric on top of the band. So I'm only stitching to the fabric and not going through the band, and you'll be able to feel it too that you're not going to the band. So that's what I wanted to recommend. And then as far as my stitch pattern, it's still the same as when I did the frontal. So I'm just going under the hair, not through the weft, and then just wrapping the hair around. And then as you guys can see, like I have my pin there to like keep the hair in place. And this is pretty much what one pack of hair looked like, and you can see how close I did the stitching. So just want to show you guys that. And then as far as the second bundle, so the second bundle I had to double my wefts because my head is small. And now I see why beauticians be like, your head's so small, I can only fit 3 packs. But it's definitely because the frontal as well. I don't know why I had expectations to fit all of them. But I did. But I just had to double this weft. And then when I got to the end, I realized like I can just use this piece to go around the frontal or behind the frontal. So that's what I did because it's the double wefted. And I'm just going to put the other bundle in between where I put my hand. So this is the other bundle. So I'm kind of almost done. So it went by like super forever. It took me a long time actually. But yeah, so what I did is I just put the hair in between the area instead of waiting until I got to the top. And I will say, like, I never cut my weft. I always did the fold over method, just in case you weren't wondering.
One day, and I'll be at your door, ready to take a place, ready to give you what you've been missing the weekdays, what you've been waiting for. 10:30, no later than.
To get the frontal hair and the idea of going back, I just used water to cover the track. So, like, to get the hair in uniform with going back. So you can use that. And then I'm just cutting out the excess piece of dome cap underneath the frontal. And then here I'm just showing you guys that I'm using the band that was attached to the dome cap as the band for my head. But once I was done, I realized that I needed to sew it to a different place. But as far as cutting the lace off, I just cut like around my ears first, and then I pinned the hair back as well because I realized I was annoying. But lightly because you don't want to pull it because then like it won't help when you're cutting it. So I just took little scissors because I was nervous that if I use my other scissors, they're super sharp and it'll cut it off. But I'm just going right up to where the baby hairs are and all of that. And once I was done, I realized that I did need to tighten the band. So I did go ahead and do that. But this is pretty much the end and how I made this frontal wig. I'm also going to show you guys how I style the wig. So that'll be a video that'll be up on my channel as well, either with this one or like later. But I do hope you guys enjoyed my first time making a frontal wig. So like I would say, don't forget to like if you guys like it. Don't forget to comment if you guys want to comment. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed.